Night split open with a scream. Kaelis ran. Flames chased her through the narrow alleys of her village, licking at the wooden walls, devouring everything she had ever known. The air stung her lungs, thick with ash and fear. Behind her, something massive crashed through a doorway. Too fast, too strong to be human. Kaelis, don't stop! Her mother's voice rang out, sharp with panic. She didn't stop. She couldn't. Her bare feet slapped against the dirt as she darted past burning homes, past neighbors who had once laughed and shared meals with her, now reduced to shadows and cries. A low growl rolled through the night. Kaelis stumbled. Before she could rise, a hand grabbed her arm and yanked her up. Her father's face loomed over her, streaked with soot, eyes wild. "Listen to me," he said, gripping her shoulders. "No matter what happens, you run. You do not look back. Do you understand? I don't. Run." A blur of fur and claws slammed into him before she could answer. Kaelis screamed. Her father went down under the weight of the beast, his shout cut short. Her mother lunged forward, shifting midair, bones snapping, body twisting, into a silver wolf that collided with the attacker. "Go!" her mother howled. Kaelis ran. She ran until her legs gave out, until the screams faded into silence, until the fire behind her became nothing but a distant glow. She collapsed at the edge of the forest, trembling, tears streaking her ash-covered face. And then, silence. A figure stepped out of the trees, tall, still, watching. Kaelis froze. The man's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Not quite human, not quite beast. He studied her, head tilting slightly, as if trying to understand something that didn't make sense. She waited for him to attack. He didn't. Instead, his gaze dropped briefly to her chest, as if searching for something, and not finding it. A strange flicker of confusion crossed his face. Then he turned and disappeared into the shadows. Kaelis was left alone. 8 years later, Kaelis Thorn lived like a ghost in a house that was not her own. "Faster!" a sharp voice snapped. Kaelis flinched and scrubbed harder, her fingers raw against the stone floor. The water had long since turned gray, but she didn't dare stop. "I said faster!" the woman barked again. Tareen Viral stood over her, arms crossed, lips curled in disdain. Her dark hair was pulled tight, her posture rigid with authority. Kaelis lowered her head. "Yes, Aunt." The word tasted bitter. "You've been on that same spot for 10 minutes, Tareen continued. "Are you trying to test my patience?" "No." "Then why are you moving like a cripple?" Kaelis bit back a response. She had learned long ago that silence hurt less. Tareen leaned down suddenly, grabbing a fistful of Kaelis's hair and yanking her head back. "Look at me when I'm speaking to you." Pain shot through her scalp. Kaelis forced her eyes up. Disgust stared back at her. 18 years old, Tareen said slowly, her voice dropping. "And still nothing." Kaelis's chest tightened. "You know what that makes you?" Tareen continued. Kaelis didn't answer. "Say it." "Markless." "Louder." "I'm Markless." Tareen released her with a shove. "Useless," she muttered, turning away. "A burden I should have rid myself of years ago." Kaelis swallowed hard, her vision blurring, but she didn't cry. Crying only made things worse. From the doorway, a servant girl lingered, watching with wide eyes before quickly disappearing when Tareen glanced her way. Kaelis returned to scrubbing. Markless. The word echoed in her mind like a curse. Every person in their world carried the mark, the sign of the wolf within. Came before 18. It always came, except for her. "You're not one of us," Tareen had said more times than she could count. Sometimes Kaelis almost believed it. "Get up," Tareen snapped. Kaelis froze. "I haven't finished." I didn't ask what you've finished. Get up. Kaelis rose slowly, her knees aching. There's news, Tareen said, smoothing her dress. The Sovereign Court has called for a gathering. All bloodlines are to attend. Kaelis blinked. A gathering? The Ember Conclave, Tareen said. You've heard of it, I assume. Or do you truly know nothing? I've heard, Kaelis said quietly. Once every few years, the most powerful wolves gathered. Alliances were formed. Status was displayed. Power was measured. And now, she would be there. Tareen's eyes narrowed. You will come with me. Kaelis stiffened. Me? Do you see another unwanted girl in this house? Tareen snapped. Of course you. But tradition demands all heirs be presented at 18. Tareen's lips curled. Even defective ones. Kaelis' stomach dropped. I won't have anyone saying I hid you, Tareen continued. You will stand there and you will endure it. And you will not embarrass me. Kaelis hesitated. They'll see. They already know, Tareen said coldly. Now they'll get to laugh at you in person. Kaelis looked down, her hands clenching at her sides. Prepare yourself, Tareen added, already turning away. We leave at dawn. The journey was silent. Kaelis sat rigid in the carriage, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Across from her, Tareen stared out the window, as if Kaelis didn't exist. Every mile felt heavier. You understand your place, Tareen said suddenly. Kaelis nodded. Yes. Do not speak unless spoken to. Yes. Do not draw attention to yourself. Kaelis hesitated, then said softly, That won't be difficult. Tareen shot her a sharp look. Watch your tone. I didn't mean. Silence. Kaelis pressed her lips together. By the time they arrived, her chest felt like it might collapse in on itself. The hall was enormous. Stone pillars stretched toward a high ceiling, banners hanging from above, each one marked with the crest of a powerful bloodline. Voices filled the space, low, confident, mocking. Kaelis stepped inside and immediately felt it. Eyes, dozens of them. Stay close, Tareen murmured, though her grip on Kaelis' arm was anything but gentle. They moved through the crowd, whispers trailing behind them like smoke. Is that her? The Markless one? She's worse than I imagined. Kaelis kept her gaze down, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. At the far end of the hall, a raised platform stood, and on it, a man, tall, still, watching. Kaelis' breath caught. For a brief, terrifying moment, something about him felt familiar. Then his gaze shifted, and the moment passed. Names will be called, a voice announced. One by one, individuals stepped forward, their presence commanding respect. Then, Tareen virile with air. Tareen shoved Kaelis forward. Move! Kaelis' legs felt like stone as she walked into the center of the hall. Silence fell. Then came the murmurs. Where's her mark? She doesn't have one. Impossible. Tareen's voice cut through it. This is Kaelis Thorn, she said sharply. A disappointment I am forced to acknowledge. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Kaelis' vision blurred. I have waited 18 years, Tareen continued, her voice rising. For her to prove she belongs to our kind. She has failed. A hand gripped Kaelis' chin, forcing her head up. Look at them, Tareen hissed. Let them see what you are. Kaelis' lips trembled. I said look. The slap came fast. Her head snapped to the side. A gasp echoed through the hall. And then, enough. The word hit like thunder. Everything stopped. Kaelis slowly lifted her head. The man from the platform was moving, straight toward her. The man's steps were unhurried, yet every movement carried weight. The crowd parted without question, as though an invisible force demanded it. Kaelis' breath caught in her throat. Up close, He was even more imposing, broad-shouldered, sharp-featured. His presence suffocating in a way that made the air feel thin. His dark gaze swept over her, not with mockery, not with pity, but with something she couldn't name. Recognition flickered in her chest. Impossible. Who gave you the right? He said quietly, his voice cutting through the silence. To strike her in my presence? Tareen stiffened. My lord, she is under my guardianship. I will discipline her as I see fit. A pause. The man tilted his head slightly. Your guardianship, he repeated as if testing the words. Yes, Tareen said, forcing confidence into her tone. She is my responsibility, my burden. Kaelis felt the word like a blade. The man's gaze shifted back to her. For a moment, everything else faded. The crowd, the whispers, the humiliation. There was only him and the strange, unsettling way he looked at her, as though he saw something no one else did. You are wrong, he said. Tareen blinked. My lord, she is not your burden. The hall fell into a deeper silence. Tareen's lips parted. I don't understand. You don't need to, he cut in. Then louder, his voice carrying across the chamber. I invoke the right of sovereign claim. Gasps erupted. Kaelis's heart slammed against her ribs. Tareen's composure cracked. You cannot be serious. Oh, I am very serious, he replied. This is absurd. Tareen snapped. She is nothing, Markless, weak. And yet, he interrupted, his eyes hardening. You felt the need to parade her before the entire court. Tareen faltered. He stepped closer to Kaelis, and she instinctively tensed, unsure whether to retreat or stand her ground. From this moment forward, he declared, his voice steady, undeniable. She falls under crown protection. The words echoed like a decree carved in stone. No, Tareen said quickly, panic seeping into her voice. You don't understand. She's an embarrassment, a liability. You would gain nothing from. I did not ask for your opinion. The sharpness in his tone silenced her instantly. Kaelis's mind spun. Crown protection. That meant safety. That meant everything was about to change. Take your leave, he said to Tareen, not even sparing her a glance. Tareen hesitated, her face twisting with anger and disbelief. For a brief second, it looked as though she might argue further. Then she saw something in his expression and thought better of it. This is a mistake, she muttered, backing away. You'll regret this. He didn't respond. She turned and disappeared into the crowd. Kaelis stood frozen. It was over. Just like that. Come, he said. The word was simple, but it wasn't a suggestion. Kaelis followed. The noise of the hall faded as they moved through a side passage, away from prying eyes and whispered judgments. Her heart still hadn't slowed. She didn't understand any of this. Why him? Why now? The corridor was quiet, lined with stone walls that seemed to close in around her. Finally, he stopped outside a heavy door and pushed it open. Inside, Kaelis stepped in cautiously. The room was modest compared to the grandeur outside, but it was warm, lit by low-burning candles. A basin of clean water sat on a table, along with cloths and bandages. For your injuries, he said. Kaelis hesitated. You expect me to believe you're not hurt? He added, one brow lifting slightly. She swallowed. I've had worse. I don't doubt that. Something in his tone made her glance up. For a moment, their eyes met again. And there it was, that same strange feeling. Like he knew her. Like he had seen her before. Who are you? She asked before she could stop herself. A flicker of amusement crossed his face. You don't recognize me. It wasn't a question. Kaelis shook her head slowly. I am Rovan Kaelith, he said. The name hit her like a physical force. The sovereign. the highest authority among their kind. Kaelis immediately dropped her gaze, her pulse racing. My lord, I didn't realize. Look at me, he said. She hesitated, then obeyed. You should, he added quietly. It's important that you do. Her confusion deepened. Rovan stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the heat of his presence. Tell me something, Kaelis Thorn, he said. On the night your village burned, what do you remember? Her breath caught. The memory surged forward before she could stop it. Fire, screams, her father's voice, the weight of loss pressing down on her chest. I remember everything, she said softly. Why? Do you remember seeing anyone? He pressed. Anyone who didn't attack you? Kaelis frowned slightly, a shadow in the trees, watching, not striking. She hesitated. There was someone. I thought I imagined it. You didn't. Her heart skipped. Kaelis looked up sharply. You were there. It wasn't a question this time. Rovan held her gaze. Yes. Silence filled the room. Why didn't you kill me? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes shifted. Because you didn't have it, he said. Didn't have what? The mark. Kaelis froze. I thought you were human at first, he continued. Out of place. Irrelevant. The word stung even now. But then I looked closer, he added. And, Rovan's gaze sharpened. And I realized I was wrong. A strange tension built in Kaelis's chest. I've spent years trying to understand what I saw that night, he said. Trying to make sense of it. Kaelis shook her head slightly. There's nothing to understand. I'm Markless. That's all. No, he said firmly. That is not all. Her stomach twisted. You are not Markless, he continued. You are unbound. The word hung in the air, heavy and unfamiliar. Kaelis blinked. I've never heard of that. Most haven't, he replied. Because there are very few of you. Her pulse quickened. What does it mean? It means, he said slowly, that whatever resides within you does not follow the rules of our kind. Kaelis took a step back. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. I don't feel anything, she insisted. No wolf, no power, nothing. Rovan watched her carefully. That's because it hasn't awakened. And what if it never does? His expression darkened slightly. It will. The certainty in his voice sent a chill down her spine. Kaelis shook her head, her breathing unsteady. You're wrong. You have to be. If there was something inside me, I would know. I would feel it. Would you? He asked quietly. Yes. Even after everything you've been through? He pressed. Even after years of being told you are nothing? She flinched. That kind of belief has a way of burying things, he continued. Burying them so deep you forget they exist. Kaelis's hands trembled. I don't believe you, she said. But the words lacked conviction. Rovan didn't argue. Instead, he stepped closer. Then prove me wrong. Before she could react, he reached out. His hand stopped just short of her chest. Focus, he said. Kaelis froze. On what? On yourself. That doesn't. Do it. Something in his voice made her obey. She closed her eyes. First, there was nothing. Just the sound of her own breathing, uneven and shallow. Again, he said softly. Look deeper. Kaelis frowned slightly, trying to push past the familiar emptiness. For years, she had searched for something, anything, and found only silence. But now there was something else. A flicker, so faint she almost missed it. Her breath hitched. Do you feel it? Rovan asked. I don't know. Try again. Kaelis concentrated harder. The flicker grew. A pulse. Then another. Warm. Alive. Her eyes snapped open. What is that? Rovin's lips curved slightly. That is you. The pulse surged suddenly, stronger this time, spreading through her chest like a wave. Kaelis gasped, stumbling back. The candles in the room flickered wildly. What's happening? She whispered. Rovin didn't move. Don't fight it. I'm not trying to. The air seemed to hum. A low, unfamiliar sound echoed in her ears. Like a growl, but not quite. Kaelis clutched her chest, her heart racing. I can't control it. You're not supposed to, he said calmly. Not yet. The energy spiked. The basin of water trembled, rippling without being touched. Kaelis stared at it in shock. This isn't possible. It is, Rovin said. Her breathing grew ragged. Make it stop. Why? Because it's... She broke off, her voice shaking. It's wrong. Rovin's gaze softened, just slightly. No, he said. It's not wrong. The energy surged one last time. Then everything went still. The candles steadied. The room fell silent. Kaelis stood there, trembling, her chest rising and falling rapidly. What was that? She asked. Rovin studied her for a long moment. Power, he said simply. She shook her head. No, that's not power. That's something they would fear, he finished. Kaelis swallowed hard. Yes. A faint smile touched his lips. Good. She stared at him. Good. They should, he said. Kaelis' heart skipped. Because the truth is, he continued, his voice dropping slightly, they didn't cast you aside because you were weak. A chill ran down her spine. They cast you aside, he said, because they were afraid of what you might become. Kaelis turned slowly toward the small mirror hanging on the wall. For a moment, she saw the same girl she had always been. Tired, worn, uncertain. Then, her eyes flickered, just for a second. Something deeper, something unfamiliar, something not entirely wolf. She sucked in a breath. Behind her, Rovin's voice came, calm and certain. And this, he said, is only the beginning. The screen fades, but before you go, if this story pulled you in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me what you think Kaelis really is. Because trust me, this story is just getting started.